Well, December just rolled around last week, and that means 2022 is right around the corner, which also means that New Year's resolutions are going to be coming into effect in a couple of weeks. And hopefully after watching today's video, your New Year's resolution in regards to finances can last a little more than the typical 3 weeks. 2021 was an interesting year, there's no other way of putting it. Travel restrictions were lifted, businesses started opening up again, and most of us are just focusing on getting our lives back to normal once again. And from an investment standpoint, despite all of the short-term scares that we've seen over the past year, as well as on paper setbacks, well, even if you would have just closed your eyes and invested, let's say $1,000 into the most passive investment that you can make, which is, let's say, an S&P 500 ETF, well, you would have made still over 25% at the time of filming this video, which is absolutely fantastic on any account. So anyways, of course, with my channel here focusing mainly on personal finance as well as investing both in the stock market and real estate, and with 2022 closing in on us, it's important that we start thinking about how we can further build our wealth over the course of 2022 and beyond, as well as just better our finances overall, which this video is all about. A simple to implement 5-step roadmap to get you on the right track no matter your current financial situation. There are gems in here for everyone. So with that said, let's get right into it. And I'd like to thank today's video sponsor, Hostinger, but more on that later. All right, jumping into the first step here on the roadmap to build more wealth in 2022, or pretty much any year for that matter, it is going to be first and foremost absolutely critical that you try to eliminate any high interest consumer debt that you may be carrying. Realistically here, any type of consumer debt that has an interest rate of above 5 to 6% annually is something you should first and foremost focus on eliminating before saving, that's for sure, but even before investing in the stock market or any other type of investing. So we're talking here consumer debt like credit card debt, personal lines of credit, personal loans, and even potentially student debt depending on the interest rate. This is because any type of consumer debt that has an annual interest rate of 5% or higher is going to make it extremely difficult and impede on your capacity first and foremost to save, that which will completely be futile if you're losing at least 5% in interest per year on your debt. Saving is not really going to make any sense here, and even investing, it becomes a lot more difficult to consistently beat out the returns, or the interest I should say, that you're paying on your debts in the first place. So I always recommend first and foremost trying to eliminate those high interest consumer debt before moving on into saving as well as investing. The entire goal of saving and investing is to increase your wealth and, well, your net worth. So if you're carrying, say, $5,000 worth of credit card debt, that's incurring 23% interest. Well, not only is this going to lower your overall net worth by that $5,000, but it's actually going to be a heck of a lot more than that, because you're going to be paying recurring interest payments at a very high rate. Now you might be thinking though, Griffin, didn't you say that the most passive investments, say an S&P 500 index, returned investors over 25% in this calendar year, which is quite a bit more than the 5% that you're speaking about. So wouldn't it make more sense to focus on those higher returns than paying off the lower interest credit card debt, or, well, it would never be credit card debt, but say a personal line of credit at around 5% or so? And my answer to that is twofold. First of all, it will depend on the type of debt as well as your financial situation, but 99% of the time, it makes more fiscal and logical sense to first focus on eliminating the high interest consumer debt, especially if you're newer to investing as well as the world of personal finance and have limited capital to start saving and investing with in the first place. Even though the S&P 500 has returned investors around that 25% range this calendar year, well, historic annual averages are quite a bit lower at around 10% per year. So considering the fact that inflation right now is around 5%, and if you did carry, say, consumer debt at a 5% interest rate, you'd be looking at around a flat return over this past calendar year. And that's not to mention the fact that you are 100% guaranteed to have to pay that 5% interest on that consumer debt. And that's not to mention the fact that carrying consumer debt also has other negative repercussions on your credit score, which impacts your capacity to borrow for, say, a home, which we'll be speaking about a bit more later on in the video. Okay, jumping into step number 2 here, that's also somewhat tied to step number 3, as we'll be seeing shortly. It is to learn a new skill this year that can be applied in the marketplace to increase your overall income. And then even further, to read 1 book per month, meaning you would read around 12 books this year on topics such as investing, money, personal finance, and just self-help in general that can increase your overall income. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this point since we have spoken about it quite a bit in previous videos, but the overall point to take out of this is that you cannot expect to increase your income, your wealth, as well as your overall impact this year if you're playing with the exact same set of skills that has gotten you to where you are right now. This is the whole reason why we go to school and learn, but for some reason after graduation, many people just choose to give up on learning altogether and they expect to play out the rest of their life with the exact same skill set. But you can't cut down an oak tree with the exact same small axe as a small pine. You need to level up and acquire bigger tools that are more suitable for bigger and better tasks. So in this slide, identifying a new skill that can be learned this year and then applied in the marketplace to get a better job, start a side hustle, maybe do some freelancing work, whatever is going to be something that I would highly recommend you focus on. I'll say it right now, there are millions of hours on the internet of content speaking about how to grow your wealth, investing to grow your wealth, new tactics, and all of that. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to first and foremost, increasing your income and then also learning to understand where to better identify other opportunities to increase your income. That is really the first step towards increasing your wealth over the long term. You can't start investing with no money. You need to first increase your income. In addition to this, I cannot stress enough the importance of reading books. It's good for your brain. You get to reflect on what you're reading, and then you also get to consume and learn new things on a given topic. For example, here's a stack of most of the books that I ended up reading this year. First and foremost, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I usually read it around once a year, even though I know exactly what's in it, just to stay up to date with that information. One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, great book for investing. The Obstacle is the Way. That is also a great book that is on a completely different topic. That's not really about money, that I really enjoyed. Bold by Peter H. Diamandis. This was a really good book about where we're going really in the future on different topics. I really like this author. Post Corona by Scott Galloway, also really interesting. Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. That's also a great book just on money in general and investing, but really you get the point here. Here are the other books. I'm not going to go through them. You can pause this and take a look at these books, but overall the point being that I usually try to read a new book every 2 weeks or so, but even if it's just one book per month, that is still much better than not reading at all. All right, moving into step number 3 here. That's somewhat of a continuation to step number 2. We have increasing your income through either a side hustle or just starting some type of small business. If you're not an entrepreneur, it could also be leveling up at work. So as mentioned earlier, money through the front door and increasing your income is really the main critical step to increasing your net worth as well as your wealth over time, because having more disposable income to invest with is going to exponentially increase your net worth and your wealth. So increasing your income is probably going to be through one of two ways. First of all, if you're in a position in a career at work where leveling up and increasing your rank within that company, or let's say you're working for the public sector, if that's on the table, that could definitely be a viable option to increase your income. Now, if that's not an option for you, pretty much the only other way you're going to be able to increase your income is through a side hustle or some type of small business. There's really no other way around this. This ultimately comes down to, yes, increasing your income, but also increasing your income streams. Now, I will warn everyone right now though, starting a side hustle or a business is extremely time consuming and can take several months to start gaining some momentum, but with consistency over time, at least for say 6 months, usually you're in a position where you're able to see where this business is going and whether or not it's something that you should continue doing or pivot to something else. And by the way, the reason why I'm speaking about starting a business, if we take a look at this chart right here, although it's not exactly the same thing, because in this case, business interest refers to equity in public companies, most likely, the higher net worth an individual has, usually the more their portion of business interest becomes. But anyways, a couple little small business ideas that you can start literally today with zero capital would be, for example, a YouTube channel, a podcast, a blog, a website. You could even start freelancing if, once again, you have a skill that you've developed and that is valuable to the market. There is no shortage of videos on the internet also speaking about various different side hustles that you can start, but I would just say really focus on something that you're able to scale over time and that isn't going to be 100% tied to your time input into the business. For me, this YouTube channel has been a great content business that's really turned into my bread and butter, where I've been able to create a connection with my audience through these videos. But for other content creators, YouTube might not be the main medium. For some people have used podcasts as well as blogs to get their message across, and this can easily become a small little business for you through various different income streams. Now, for example, I do have, yes, the YouTube channel as my bread and butter, but then I also have a couple other complementary websites, one for example, my courses, and and then one just for my personal brand. In fact, if you're looking to create a website just for yourself or your business, you will require hosting, and that's where today's video sponsor, Hostinger, comes into play. Hostinger is a website hosting platform that has over 29 million users in 178 countries with over 15,000 new signups per day, which is pretty crazy. That's a lot of websites and people sharing their message. Hostinger is known for their easy-to-use platform and extremely fast servers with 99.9% uptime guaranteed, which is what you want if you're looking to keep your website visitors coming back for more. In fact, if you're looking to create a blog or website with WordPress, well, Hostinger is perfectly optimized for one-click WordPress installation, which will definitely speed up the creation process so that you can get back to what's important with your business. Now, hosting and website development can definitely be a confusing topic for many, so Hostinger has made sure to have an extremely user-friendly control panel to navigate in and a 30-day money-back guarantee policy in case you change your mind on your new project. So if you're interested in setting up a new website or business with Hostinger, make sure to check out the link down below, and also don't forget to use the code Griffin at checkout to get an exclusive discount on all yearly plans. In fact, they have multiple plans to choose from, but the best value plans give you up to 100 websites, free email, SSL, and even a free domain. If you select that plan, you can choose your term length and then input, once again, the code Griffin in the coupon code section to get your exclusive discount. So again, if starting a blog or website seems like a side hustle that you'd like to take on, make sure to check out Hostinger for your hosting needs. Once again, link down in the description. Okay, moving into step number 4 here. Once we've focused on increasing our income, of course, we're going to want to start investing. Now, if you're watching this channel, chances are you already invest in one way or another, but there are multiple different investment classes that we can invest in. Usually the simplest is going to be investing in the stock market, as now with discount brokerages, you can invest directly from your mobile phone. Now, there are multiple different asset classes and types of investments that we can choose to invest in. In the stock market, for example, in that category, we can invest in individual stocks, we can invest in REITs, we can also invest in exchange traded funds that we speak about quite often on the channel, and so forth. But the overall goal here that I'm trying to get across is that you should be looking to really focus and narrow down on one type of investment for 2022 and really get familiar with it, but then also build out a strategy and a portfolio that is going to actually represent your risk tolerance and suitable for your needs as an investor. For example, I'm personally going to be investing further in real estate in 2022, as well as also investing significantly more in my overall investment portfolio, specifically the stock market. So exchange traded funds, core ETFs, as well as multiple individual stocks we speak about on the channel that are representing core positions in my portfolio for that long-term wealth. Now, what's most important to remember though is that it is the consistency of recurring contributions to your portfolio that really makes the largest difference in the long term. Instead of trying to chase short-term gains and looking at positions that you can swing trade on a 1 to 2 week basis, it's much more powerful over the long term to really invest larger chunks, as much as you can each and every month, into your portfolio and into those positions that make up the bulk of your portfolio for that long-term growth. And so if you're focusing on increasing your overall contributions to your stock market portfolio in 2022, the first thing you should do is try to max out all of your registered accounts if you can. So in Canada, that would represent your TFSA and your RRSP respectively. And then in the United States, if you're a US resident, that would represent your IRA, Roth IRA, and potentially even a 401k if that's applicable to you. So unless you're trying to create active income from stock market investing on a short-term basis, which is not at all what we're speaking about on this channel and specifically in today's video, well, first, maxing out your registered accounts are going to provide you with tax sheltering benefits for your stock market investing. So always maxing out your registered accounts usually makes most sense in like 99% of people's investment philosophy and strategy, really. So again, here, step number 4 is going to be learning how to properly invest for your needs as an investor. And I would highly recommend that you check out all the other videos that are already on my channel where we speak about, yes, individual ETFs, individual stocks, but also the videos where we're talking about more portfolio construction strategy. That's definitely something I think more people should focus on, especially starting in the new year. And then finally, step number 5 here, I didn't really have one specific thing. I wanted to add a bunch of various different things to consider for growing your wealth in 2022. So I'm just going to call this one extras to consider. So definitely keeping track of your income versus your expenses is something that has absolutely helped me gain more wealth over the course of the past couple of years, especially when you're first starting out, where your income might not be all too substantial. So your expenses usually will eat up a very large portion of your income. Now, following a strict budget, for example, is something that I used to do. Now, not so much. Reason being, I just try to focus on being mindful of what do I really need and what do I need to spend money on. Now, I know, for example, each and every month, roughly what my income is going to be. So after years of doing this, kind of just mentally, I know how much I am spending each and every month. But if you're really looking on increasing your savings rate this year, using a budget could definitely be something that is of use to you, even if it's not something super, specific, where you're just looking at your income each month and then looking at your credit card statement at the end of the month and trying to tailor that on an ongoing basis. But I really can't stress enough the importance of focusing on increasing your income in 2022. If there's one thing I would like you to do if you want to increase your financial position, you need to first focus on creating more income, right? You can cut down on expenses to a certain degree, but at a certain point, you have that baseline amount that you're going to have to spend each and every month. So focusing on your expenses is limited versus focusing on increasing your income is basically unlimited, right? So again, if we take a look at that chart from earlier of the different levels of wealth, we can see that as the wealth increases, typically speaking, the amount of investments is going to also increase. So focusing on that income, number one, and then pouring as much of that active income each and every month into your investments, whether or not it be stock market investing, real estate, a mix of both, or even some other types of investments. That's really the formula for growing your wealth, period. But starting small and gaining momentum right now, if this is something that's new to you, is going to, first of all, get you into that mindset of recurring contributions towards your investment portfolio. And over time, it's really going to start building up more and more momentum. Now, from here, complementing everything we just spoke about, I would say setting out a plan for the year and then sticking to that plan for a minimum of 6 months is going to be critical for really guiding the growth of your wealth over the course of next year. So many people are sure to drop off their plan and basically just pivot after a month or two of not seeing any results. If you're going to be investing for the long term, looking to grow your wealth over time, it is not realistic to expect massive levels of growth in a month or two, which is basically one of the issues with watching investment content, where a lot of people will consume content and expect results in a 1-2 week time frame, but that's really unrealistic when you're looking at the growth of companies and full-on market indexes. So in this slide, I personally usually will reassess my overall strategy as well as my portfolio allocation every roughly 3 to 6 months, depending on how my portfolio has grown and what the market environment is looking like. That's going to pretty much wrap up today's video covering a 5-step process for increasing your wealth over the course of 2022. Now, of course, there's multiple different things that we could have spoken about, but these are really the 5 core principles that absolutely anyone can implement to better their financial position this year, as well as basically any time. So make sure to comment down below, what are some things that you're focusing on right now and moving into the new year that's going to benefit your financial position? I would love to know. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, please take a second, smash the like button, and then subscribe and hit that bell button to be notified on new and upcoming investing and personal finance content. Of course, as always, also check out all the links down below in the description for resources I use and recommend. You can get free money for brokerage accounts, investment accounts, as well as savings accounts, and a bunch of other things. And then also, finally, thank you again for today's video sponsor, Hostinger, for sponsoring the video. Check out the link down below for your hosting needs this year. Thanks a lot for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one.